We are live with Qasim Rashid. Do I pronounce it right? I always fuck it up,
Qasim.
man.
It's like awesome Qasim. That's the best way to
Qasim.
do
All
it.
right, all right. I was talking to Trevor from my Cluck Hut, and he said Qasim, and he corrected me, and so I was like, okay, I'm screwed up. But thanks for joining me today at the Minocqua Brewing Company, our Substack page as well. I appreciate it.
Definitely, man. Great to be here.
Awesome. So we talked about a month ago, and I was like, "You are doing awesome stuff. Your voice is you've got more people listening to your voice than the Minocqua Brewing Company does, but our voices are very similar in calling for the Democrats to be way stronger than they are, calling for progressives on the ground to you know to we're on our own a lot of the ways, or we can't depend on our politicians to solve our problems for us. So I wanted to kind of introduce you to my audience and hopefully talk to your audience a bit about a lot of the things that are super important right now. One is protecting our elections coming up. But the one that I wanted to start with was on Friday, funding runs out for Department of Homeland Security. And can you give me a rundown of, I think we've already lost a lot of the leverage that we should have had coming into this negotiation. But B, what should our Democratic senators be doing?
There's that viral video of a guy dressed like Trump and somebody wearing a hat that says Republican Party in front of him. And they say, I'm going to draw a line on the ground here. And if you cross this line, I can no longer support you. And they draw the line, and the guy dressed as Trump tiptoes over the line and then just jumps over it. And the Republican guy says, I can't stay mad at you. And he draws another line in the sand. And then the camera pans out and you see he's driven like 30 lines in the sand and Trump has crossed over. That's what I feel like corporate Democrats are doing, where they keep capitulating to every single thing Trump wants and get nothing of substance in return. And I just don't understand why they don't understand that you don't defeat a bully by appeasing him. You
Yeah.
defeat a bully by kind of drawing a line in the sand and saying, "Damn it, we're going to stand our ground on this one." I, I I think right now, especially given that polling shows that more Americans want to abolish ICE altogether than so-called reform ICE. There's no way we're going to reform this. Lean into that. Lean into what the American people are telling you. Like they're screaming it to you because it's the right thing to do. Americans are good people. We get it. We understand what is the importance of due process of law, of treating people like human beings. And these corporate Democrats are so hell bent on trying to get Republicans to like them that they forget that they have this whole, like larger base of Americans who support them. So I would hope that they would listen to the American people, left and right, and say, we're not going to fund this fascist private army that is sexually abusing children and women and crushing the testicles of men and killing people in broad daylight. But the fact that we don't know if they're going to stand their ground is indicative of why the Democratic Party has like a 20 some percent approval rating right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure you've told your audience this, but what we are holding out for in terms of it takes the filibuster is the only reason we have any power at all is because it takes 60 votes to pass
Yep.
legislation to fund the government. We have at least 40 votes, among the Democrats in order, or 41 votes in order to stop funding Department of Homeland Security. The goal is they're basically saying you must adhere to the First, Fourth, and 14th Amendments of the Constitution by doing these things. They're introducing legislation that's already supported by our Constitution. But the main things they're pulling for is taking your masks off when you raid people. You have to have a judicial warrant, before you break into somebody's home. You can't like be doing this stuff in churches, in healthcare, areas. It's basically basic stuff, and we don't know if and the Republicans, because Trump says not to do it, are saying that's off the table. None of these things are even possible to negotiate, even though they're basic. And so, if the Democrats cave, it'll just be an abomination. And obviously, we've been saying on our channels is like everyone that's listening, you got to go to the 5 Calls app, and you have to keep relentlessly calling your U.S. senators, the Democrats especially, and say you got to stand up for something, and this is the bare minimum. But you got to hold on to this.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is where the frustration comes in. That if you look at the list of demands, these shouldn't be demands. This is already the law, right?
Yeah,
Requiring a judicial warrant, it's already in what's like established law. Like, what are we doing here? What are we even talking about?
I know.
It's
We
like
got to
saying
abolish ICE.
right. That's like saying you have to wear pants when you go out in public. Like that's already the law. Like, why are we even talking about this, right? And so, when they make these demands, these lists of 11 or 12 demands, none of them which require abolishing ICE, all of them which basically reaffirm what's already the law, you're not doing anything. And I want to talk for a minute about this whole notion of, well, don't you want body cams? I don't think people realize that body cams don't actually solve anything for a couple of reasons. One, they're still killing people on body cameras. And because of qualified immunity, there's like a 2% conviction rate of police officers who kill Americans or undocumented people or immigrants on body cameras. So they don't actually solve anything. But what they do is give the police state additional surveillance tools at all times that they have full control and full access to. They could turn on and off whenever and however they want. There's no actual evidence that these body cams have resulted in more accountability. And this talking point that we hear from corporate Democrats, I've seen Chuck Schumer talk about this. I've seen Hakeem Jeffries talk about this. I've seen Mark Warner talk about this. What's the senator from Nevada? Rosen, I can't remember her name now.
Can't remember.
But she's talking about this that, we need to make sure ICE is held to the same standards as ordinary law enforcement. And I'm like, ordinary law enforcement is killing
Feel
up to
bad.
2,000 Americans a year. What are you talking about? Why would you want that to be the standard? And so to me, it screams of some center right, white male, wealthy consultant who thinks he's got it all figured out when in actuality
Yeah.
he's trying to continue a status quo that got us into this mess in the first place. And that's why I'm begging Democratic leadership, for just the love of God, listen to what the American people are telling you. Abolish ICE, draw a line in the sand. They are building concentration camps in Texas. What
Yeah.
more do you need to see before you recognize that you cannot reform this? You must abolish this.
Yeah. All right. So, that's the most immediate thing is to defund ICE, abolish ICE. They're not going to probably do that, but we got to hold the ground on funding. The next thing I want to talk about, because there's three things, there's three tactics in order for regime change. Obviously, elections are the most important and what we're used to in America. But if we don't have free and fair elections, and we have to move to general strikes and we have moved to boycotts, three nonviolent ways for regime change. So let's talk about elections. We're already seeing the language that from Trump and from other in his regime, that they're going to mess with elections in November. It's pretty obvious. I am next hour, and I wanted to tell you this, Qasim, because I'm hoping we can expand to Illinois and the rest of the Midwest. I have a retired Army colonel named George Mason, who's been back and forth to Minneapolis delivering mutual aid, and we've been helping raise money for that. But he has connected because the only good thing we can take from everything happening in Minneapolis, at least from the Midwest, is that we're organizing throughout the Midwest because of this craziness in Minneapolis. And so he's met all these veterans who are just chomping at the bit, to help save America, because that's why they got into the military in the first place. And so they are forming an organization in Wisconsin, which we hope to expand out to the Midwest, that's called the Committee for Safety. And it's basically a bunch of retired military veterans who will be using the poll watching. They will be doing the training that the Democratic Party gives for poll watching, but these are going to be retired military vets, and so, the goal is to protect voters and to make sure elections happen. But it helps when you have bigger dudes, who are trying to make this stuff safe and trying to, and doing the training, as opposed to, what usually happens on poll watchers is, it's like retired, like, ladies who are awesome, part of the department of, the Daughters of the American Revolution, or those folks are not as scary, and we kind of need, because we're facing ICE agents who are going to be blocking polling places, which
Yeah.
I fear is going to happen. There needs to be some sort of, bulk of like, and it sucks because I'm a not a gun guy, I'm not a violence guy, but I do respect retired military veterans. So I just want to let you know about that, and Kazim, and I want to hopefully work with you to get the word out more on that in the future.
My genuine fear is we're not going to have midterm elections, and I dare anyone to call me alarmist for that,
Yeah,
because 90% of 99% of what Trump has done, everyone said, "Calm down, we'll be fine."
yeah,
And it's getting quite worse. Fascism is here, and I can see this man using his private ICE army to either block access to voting locations, to claim fraud and seize polling booths or seize voting machines. This is straight out of the strongman autocrat textbook,
yeah.
and I have zero confidence that that it hasn't crossed Trump's mind. It absolutely already has, and I have every conviction that he probably will try this. And my fear on top of that is that if and when he tries this, corporate Democrats will run to the rule book and say, "Hey, you can't do that," and they'll wag their finger as hard as a finger can be wagged, but they won't actually do anything about it.
Yeah. So just the fact that they're buying enormous warehouses all around the
Mhm.
country for detention centers,
Yeah.
suggests to me that they're going to have a list, and Palantir is going to help them build that list of people who vote Democrat.
Yeah.
And by the way, Lacrosse, like the third district of Wisconsin, is one of the biggest swing districts in the country. That's where Derek Van Orden is. It's like Lacrosse. He's an asshole. It's Derek Van Orden, but it's Lacrosse, Stevens Point, and Eau Claire. There's three smallish blue towns that make up 50% of that electorate that make this a huge swing state because they're all university towns. It's not going to take 75,000 ICE agents to detain, uh, you know, 10 Democratic voters in each of those cities, and just erase them, just take them away and lock them up to suppress all the Democratic vote. Nobody wants to go to a polling place if they've heard that 3 hours earlier,
Right.
like their neighbor just got hauled off to a detention center.
Yeah.
So it's not going to take a complete army to screw up our election. It'll take a couple of violent episodes of people getting arrested on trumped up charges. Pardon my you know
Yeah.
trumped up charges, but it won't take that much to really jack up our elections, I don't think.
Well, we're already seeing it happen. You've probably seen that this week, the House passed the SAVE Act, the deceptively named SAVE Act, which will disenfranchise up to 70 million women, tribal communities, soldiers who are deployed overseas. And again, this is a very deliberate reason. It's primarily targeting women, but I also want to name the other minority groups that are being targeted. But let's focus on women for a second. Why women? Why focus on women? Well, very simply put, because if you go back all the way to 1992, women have voted blue between 4 and 13% every single election. They are the most reliable blue voters. And I think it's obvious why. Women are much more thoughtful about politics than men are. Women are much more nuanced on politics and are much less emotional. Men are idiots when it comes to this stuff. They're complete morons. And women recognize this, and that's why they vote blue. And Republicans, rather than thinking, hey, maybe we should change our policies so women will be more drawn to us, are saying, you know what, maybe we should just stop letting women vote. It's the revival of their attempt to establish a white nationalist Christian ethno state where women are kept silent at home, not allowed to have an opinion, vote as their husbands vote, all that crap. And
Yeah.
if the SAVE Act, if this passes the Senate and becomes law, it will fundamentally revive Jim Crow America, targeting women, black people, low income people, people who don't have access to be mobile while voting. It'll be a modern day poll tax, and it'll be designed specifically to maintain permanent minority power of MAGA Republicans.
Yeah, I hear you. I agree. I agree completely. So, the goal is y- to do as much as we can as regular people to make sure elections happen. But if elections are taken away from us, which you're predicting and I'm predicting, even though we're going to fight like hell to make sure that doesn't happen, the only two other ways to to force regime change non-violently, and I think if he gets rid of honestly, if he gets rid of elections, I can't imagine there's going to be a non-violent solution to that. I think there will be a civil war, but non-violently, all the reading, I've immersed myself, and you have too, in different ways that other countries have affected regime change when they're getting abused, and so not general strikes are the best way to do this. It's worked in different countries. Um, the we just had a podcast yesterday. The AFL-CIO is talking about it. The American Federation of Teachers, the guy that the president of Wisconsin, they're talking about it. What are you hearing in terms of the May 1st Voces de la Frontera and the Fighting Oligarchy Coalition in Wisconsin? They're trying to do some action on May 1st. What are you hearing, Qasim?
I mean, I haven't heard about those in particular yet. I think it's important that we have more tools at our disposal to kind of and I'm working with a new org called Sway. You can check it out, sway.co, where you sign up, register with them. They connect with the voter rolls so that you in your district can say, hey, I'm only voting for people who are going to abolish ICE. I'm only voting for people who are going to stop funding genocide in Palestine. I'm only going to vote for people who don't take corporate money. And then the person who's running for office in that seat can say, oh, wow, okay, we've got 5,000 people in my district that will not vote for me if I take APAC money. And it's a free app, so it doesn't cost anything. But I think we need more of that kind of organizing. I mean, I appreciate, and this may be an unpopular opinion, while I appreciate these No Kings marches and these, mass numbers of people coming out, if all you do is come out in March and don't do anything else, you may as well have stayed home. Like
Yeah,
we need you to be active in your local elections. We need to be active volunteering, knocking doors, making phone calls. If you have the means to donate, donate. If you don't, that's okay. There's a ton of free things that you can do. Obviously, register to vote, obviously vote. The marches in the streets should not simply be a show of, hey, I exist. It needs to be, hey, I exist, and this is the first step towards me getting hella active. If
yeah,
all those, 5, 6, 7 million people marching in the streets, if they all invested 2 hours a week on local campaigns in your congressional seat to get these MAGA Republicans out, we would flip every single seat in the country. It's literally that simple. I mean, two to
yeah,
3 hours a week can make it happen. And so, to anyone who is going to be marching on this next No Kings March on March 28th, please don't let that be the end of your engagement. Please let that
yeah,
be the beginning. Be hyper involved locally and get everyone in your circle involved. Because at the end of the day, as bad as things are, and they are bad, we are not at the point of no return right now. I want to
yeah.
be very clear. Maintain that hope.
Yeah.
We are not at the point of no return, but we got to be deliberate about our next steps.
So, going along with that, so our organization. So the Minocqua Brewing Company has a super PAC. We've raised over $2 million to try to keep Wisconsin blue over the last 5 years. Because of kind of our megaphone, we're in contact with the higher level organizers for Indivisible. The organizer that kind of covers like 10 states is the person we talk to on a semi-regular basis. And I keep on saying, like, listen, I can't talk to Ezra Klein or the other person that's doing these, Indivisible plus Project 5051 plus a lot of other organizations do these huge No Kings marches. And I'm like, if this next one doesn't include taking names for people who are willing to do all the things that a general strike needs to do, because to a protest is a kind of a structure test for a general strike. If you
Hmm.
can organize 7 million people to march, that's great, because that means you've been able to organize them to do something. So that's the reason that these protests are actually worthwhile, because you have to build, in order to do a strike, which is, withholding your labor so that it starves the oligarchs, you know, Elon Musk and Zuckerberg and all these guys, they care about money more than they care about fascism, And so if you make it harder for them to support fascism than to support democracy by withholding your labor and bringing our economy to its knees, then they might disassociate themselves.
I don't
What do
know
you?
if you know what? I might gently push back. I don't think they care more about money than fascism. I think they actually care more about fascism. When you can burn, as Elon Musk has, $50 billion into Twitter to destroy the app and make it a hollow shell of what it once was,
Hmm,
you don't actually care about money. Larry Ellison, when you can burn the billions of dollars to buy TikTok and make it a shell of what it was, what you're doing is you're trying to suppress dissent. Jeff Bezos can burn, $1 billion in the Washington Post like it's nothing. Once you have that much money, the money doesn't actually matter. I think
yeah,
for them, it is power. It is absolute power, and this goes into why the Epstein files exist. Billionaires with that much power, that much money, their sickest, most basest thoughts become reality. And this is, I think, what we're seeing here, that these fascists are saying, you know what, I'm bored. I've got all the money in the world. What's my next thing? And these sick, twisted individuals are acting on something that no sane, normal human person would ever even think about. So I really don't think it's about money. I think it is about power, and they will do whatever they need to do to gain absolute power. This is why I've said for a long time that
Yeah.
we abolish billionaires, abolish them. Like there's Michael Jolin. I think he's a comedian, or he's an activist. He says, that once you hit $1 billion, you get a dog park named after you and a trophy that says "I won capitalism," and that's it. Everything 100% of that beyond that is tax. And I fully agree with that. I think even $1 billion is too much, right? 100 million is more than 10 million is too much. But this is the problem, that once we get to this place of wealth and income inequality, as severe and as horrific as it is right now, the decisions being made by those at the top have nothing to do with humanity or dignity or decency, and
Yeah.
everything to do with how can they amass more raw power. And if fascism is it, then fascism is it, because it's not going to affect them at all.
I hear you. I uh, I still have a little bit of optimism left because, to me, when Tesla's stock started tanking, when Elon was doing all this Doge stuff, which was absolutely horrific, and everybody was protesting Tesla, he left. He left the Doge world. I think his board might have, I'm hoping that the reason he left was because his board was like, listen, you can't do this stuff because our stock is tanking. And to me, that they gave me a little hope that economic pressure actually could change the minds of these guys.
I think it can change the minds of the masses. I think at the end of the day, the harm done from Doge hasn't been rescinded at all. His gutting of US aid by some studies has already killed 700,000 people
Yeah,
and will kill up
yeah,
to 14 million by 2030 if not reversed.
yeah,
So that harm is still there. Our information is already gone, leaked out. God knows where it is at this point. And again, the when we talk about economic pressure, I think for me, it's less about trying to convince them because they can't be convinced. It's about ensuring we prevent them having the access and influence and power that
yeah,
they. I mean, right now, Amazon made record profits and paid an effective like 2% tax
yeah,
again
yeah,
because of these absurd, Trump and GOP tax cuts. So I'm less worried about convincing them of everything of anything at all. I have zero desire to convince the
yeah,
Musks and the Zuckerbergs of the world of anything. I have every desire to build out policy, elect people to public service who are going to pass legislation to limit their power and hold them accountable. I think we're
yeah,
starting to see some of that in other countries, but not yet in the United States.
yeah,
But to your point, though, I remain hopeful. I want to be very clear. As angry and as passionate as I sound right now, I am not despairing. I'm not giving up hope. I'm still extraordinarily hopeful
mm,
because I've seen what our country has come through in the past. And I know that we can survive this once more by standing on the shoulders of those who got us to this point in the first
yeah.
place.
All right, so I'm glad that you mentioned Amazon. I'm not sure if you did that because you're just really good at segueing, but I
Let's
appreciate
go with
that
that.
because Amazon. Uh, One of the reasons that I'm getting on online with you and with big comedians like Steve Hofstetter and Cliff Cash is because as soon as Trump was elected a year ago, uh, I knew that I needed to do something more, and I kind of read the Bibles of resistance movements, and it turns out that I was already kind of doing something that these professors suggested. So building economic cooperatives to keep money into the working class and to keep money out of fascist hands, who are those who are abusing us, is something that Professor Erica Chenoweth talked about in a Harvard Kennedy School essay that I read, and so I was already building an economic cooperative because I'm such a liberal brewer in Wisconsin. I've been boycotted by Wisconsin distributors, and I've been hindered from selling my beer, because of the power structures in the beer industry. So I was already kind of making soda, making water, making coffee, and selling that stuff online to get past the folks who were shitting on me because I'm such a liberal. So when I heard about economic cooperatives being a thing, to keep money away from those who are bending the knee to Trump, I'm like, I'm all in because I can do this. I've already kind of started doing this. So in the last year, we've built a marketplace We've got 90 companies in it so far. They've all signed a pledge to never donate money to MAGA extremism. We're selling over 5,000 products on this site. Unfortunately, a lot of the products are fuck Trump merchandise. It's not necessarily like the stuff you need every month, like dog food or laundry detergent. And I've tried to go and raise money with the venture capital community to kind of build this thing, but I need more money to build it to be a useful boycotting tool. And useful means it's got to be able to ship inexpensively to people around the country, which means we have to buy a warehouse, a big warehouse, we have to be able to, to be able to integrate shopping applications in order to like figure out who's actually bent the knee to Trump and who hasn't when you're in grocery store aisles. So I have we've built this thing, but part of the reason I'm getting on with you is that I'm hoping I can reach some of your supporters because I believe that our interests are aligned almost 100%, and get the word out that there's a Kickstarter out there right now. The entire month of February, we're trying to raise $150,000. We've already raised $92,000 in about a week and a half,
Right.
and so we're really going to get there. And this is a first step in towards keeping this project alive, so that we can build an actual boycotting tool that actually might put a dent in Amazon or put a dent in some of these companies who are bending the knee to Trump.
I think one of the most important points of what you're making is that this is money people are going to spend anyway. And you're simply trying to get folks to redirect it to a cause that doesn't support oligarchs and billionaires, to support small businesses directly. And I think that is the most important takeaway that I want folks to understand, that what y'all are building is not to ask folks to spend more money than they already have. It's not
Yeah.
to put people in any kind of pinch. It's to say, hey, these funds that you're already putting out into the economy for things that you need, spend them in a place where they're going to do the most good. And yeah, I can't remember the economist who said it. It's a woman. I can't remember her name. I feel bad now, but she said every dollar you spend is a vote for the kind of future that you want. And I think it's phenomenal that you're trying to build this out. And yeah, absolutely. I hope everyone following along. We've got 3,700 people watching this right now. I hope all of you check out the link. If you want to have your team put the link in the chat, folks are asking for what the name of the company is. Put the link in the chat, and let's get folks to be
Yeah, I
involved in
just put the link in the chat. It's like, unfortunately, not that easy, but it's got Kickstarter.com in there, and then the rest of it you hopefully can copy and paste.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It was wild. It was. I'll just tell you. So you know, I'm a weird guy. I mean, I did go to Harvard, and so I have a lot of connections to people in the venture capital world in like New York and California. I worked for Oracle and Google and Facebook as a consultant for a while, so that world is not foreign to me. And I went to a lot of connections that I had in that area. I was like, guys, I've got this website, e-commerce site that I think might be able, if we can grow it and get funding, we could maybe do something to stop Trump. We can boycott enough companies to make a dent, and maybe they'll stop supporting him, or at least they'll fight back a little bit, because it's becoming economically good to fight against Trump, like Costco is doing. Like, you have a ton more people going to Costco than going to Target right now,
Yes.
because they're fighting against Trump, and people like to support companies that are. So I'm like, let's do that on steroids with this
Yes.
website. I couldn't get a single venture capitalist to listen to me. They're like, this is AI is the only thing that anybody's going to invest in right now. This is an e-commerce site that's emotional. You're never going to beat Amazon. And I was like, you got to start somewhere,
Yeah.
And so it just like, it's like the corporate Democrats, and I saw that on either coast. I was like, it's going to be a tough slog. And that's why we went back to my own community. We got 170,000 people that read my emails, and your community is very similar, I think, to mine. And none of those people are millionaires. But I feel like this tool has to be built by the working class for the working class, because nobody's in the venture capital community is going to save us right now.
And I would add to your thoughtful comments that it's not even about beating Amazon. We don't need to beat Amazon. We just need to build an alternative where people can invest in, and where people can go in. And I mean, this to me is when people get upset that, oh, why are you drinking from a plastic straw? Don't you know it hurts ocean life? Like, yeah, I get that. I also get that a private jet in 10 minutes causes more pollution than 1,000 people will in 1,000 lifetimes. And so it's the systemic issues that we need to fix. And by building this, whether Amazon lives or dies actually becomes irrelevant. What you're doing is you're creating critical mass, an opportunity for there to be critical mass for people to invest in something better. And that's really all we can ask for right now. That how do we just build an alternative that is better? And God willing, it builds the eventuality in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years where Amazon says, oh crap, we're in trouble. But in the meantime, we don't just waste time just because Amazon's the elephant in the room and we're, a mouse right now. I mean, mice first of all scare elephants, but more important, more importantly, this is the point of hope, right? That
Yeah.
you hope for a better future for your kids. And yeah, I want to go back to your comment about Target versus Costco. Look, my wife and I, we've got three amazing kids, and we were prior to a couple of years ago in Target pretty regularly. I don't think we visited Target once in the last 2 years. And instead, we've got Costco. We're spending all of our shopping money, grocery shopping money at Costco. I'm the clothes I'm wearing are from Costco at this point. Like I've entered that stage of 40-year-old man where I look at Costco clothes, I'm like, God dang, that looks good. And I'm not ashamed to admit it. I love it. And this is a company that is not perfect, but they pay their folks a living wage. And that to me is a huge win. They're not, afraid of diversity initiatives. They're
Yeah.
leaning into that. And I think it's not enough for us to just slam the corporations doing it wrong. We need to elevate the businesses doing it right. Costco is one example that is by and large doing it right.
Awesome. Qasim, I really appreciate you joining me today. I think we should do this more regularly. I love everything. I mean, I subscribe to you, and I encourage everybody
Thank
that's
you.
listening to me subscribe to your account because you are a little bit further with. I think you think about it more because I gotta I gotta deal with beer a lot. So I think you're a little bit more intellectual and more forward thinking than I am, and I think I'm one of the more forward thinking people. That are part of this resistance, at least in Wisconsin. So I really
Kind.
appreciate everything that you're doing. You give me ideas, and I try to amplify them to the folks who listen to me. So thanks for everything you're doing, man.
No, appreciate the teamwork, man. Teamwork makes the dream work. Great to partake with you and looking forward to working together.
All right, take care, my friend.
Peace
See
out.
ya.